You have landed on The Substance. I'm your host, Philip Marinello, and we're happy to have you. Whether it's your first time or your 182nd time, thanks for joining us. There's a whole lot of podcasts out there, and we're real happy that you decided to spend some time here with us. Here at The Substance, we're looking to have conversations that help us all better appreciate goodness, truth, and beauty. Previous guests include folks like Film Spotting's Josh Larson, writer-director Joe Lynch, actress Ramina Dugo, Dan McCoy of the Flophouse podcast, and our pals over at Letterboxd, Slim and Mitchell. This week, I'm very happy to have the the ubiquitous in Kansas City, if you're in the film community, Greg D. of the Nerds of Nostalgia podcast, of the Nightmare Junkhead, Screenland Armor podcast, and what I probably think of him the most is from Friday Night Frights over at Screenland. Him and Genius McGee, they are regularly hosting every week. Just really wonderful, not just horror movies, but the whole night, the curation, the pre-show, the trivia, and the community that all get together. It's just a wonderful time. And I think we say this in the show, but if you have watched the movie or you haven't watched the movie yet and you're planning on it, Greg put together a wonderful pre-show package for me before we recorded this with trailers and things like that, and it was a blast. So that's in the show notes. Be sure to check that out. This was a great, very full episode here. A lot of shout outs here. A couple that I do want to mention before we get into it here at the top. Greg and I talked about this on the show, but wanted to give a particular shout out to the folks over at Vinegar Syndrome and their sub label Yellow Veil Pictures for putting out local Kansas City filmmakers' most recent film, They Call Her Death, written, directed, produced, edited by Austin Snell. Really cool guy here in the Kansas City community, and I saw They Call Her Death at Screenland. I believe it was last year when it was coming out, and then saw through the grapevine that Vinegar Syndrome was putting it out. So got in touch with them. They sent me over a copy to take a look at. Our buddy Greg, who's here on the show, actually did the Q&A over at Liberty Hall, another great Kansas City theater, and it was just so great to revisit, to look at the special features. The Blu-ray looks incredible. It's a movie shot on film, so check out They Call Her Death. I believe it's streaming on Shudder, but if you're a physical media person and you want to see movies at maybe the best they look in sound, check out the Blu-ray of They Call Her Death out from Vinegar Syndrome and Yellow Veil Pictures. It looks and sounds incredible, and it's just a great time. You can tell that I think they made it took over 2 years to make. So you can tell, like, it's very much an independent film. So if you can get over that, I know that's not everybody's cup of tea, but there's so much love, and you can see so much. If you are a Western fan, particularly the spaghetti Westerns, the Italian ones, if you are a horror fan, particularly Italian, this is very Italian vibes movie, which obviously I liked quite a bit, but wonderful film, fantastic Vinegar Syndrome release. So I wanted to be sure to shout that out at the top. And I'll also say this is an old one. We never got to actually, I don't know if we would actually cover this film as a proper substantive cinema show, but one of the films in the pre-show trailers that Greg sent me, I just laughed when I looked at the lineup. One of the films was a movie called Strange Invaders that actually quite a while ago, our pals over at Imprint Blu-ray, the folks out of Australia, the Viavision and Imprint. This is I believe, a Blu-ray exclusive from Imprint. So I do need to go back and check that out, but shout out to Imprint as well, Vinegar Syndrome and Imprint, both putting out wonderful editions. And we actually just got, I'm not going to go deep on this, we just got a wonderful Scorsese package from Imprint. We got the new Raging Bull and New York edition. So working on locking down a guest with a time and a place to record for New York. So that is a tentative future substantive cinema episode that I am very much looking forward to. And one quick reminder before we get to the show, if you really enjoy the show and you haven't given us a rating yet, but you don't even need to pause the show, actually. Keep listening. Open up your app, Spotify, Apple, Pocket Casts, etc., whatever. Open it up, hit the 5-star button if there's an option to write a review. We'd like to invite you to take a couple seconds, right? Hey, this is what I like about this show. It helps even just hitting the 5-star button. It helps more people find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. So now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Greg D on Edgar Wright's The World's End.
I mean, the podcast has opened up so many things for me. I mean, doing this now.
Has. Well, I mean, and I guess we'll get into it. Welcome, everybody. We're informal intro here to this episode of The Substance. We got Greg, forgive me. Last name? Do you like what is the last name?
See, it depends on the format.
Are we given last name?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because on the Screenland podcast, I just go by Greg Dedrick. It's my full name.
Okay, Dedrick.
Yeah. Now, if
I've listened to I think every episode of that, so I'm sure that's in my head somewhere.
Well, and it's the easiest way to remember it is it's been properly pronounced one time in a film, and it's from 1984. It's a Tom Hanks movie called Bachelor Party.
Okay.
And there's a line where they say the only good Rick is a dead Rick.
There you go.
And from the get-go, I was like, well, I'm a Tom Hanks fan. I'm a fan of his films, but I'm more of a fan that they said my last name correctly. So if you ever need to refer, just go back to Bachelor Party.
There you go. Okay. Greg Dedrick of Nightmare Junkhead, Nerds of Nostalgia, Screenland Armor podcast, and just an all-around staple of the Kansas City genre film community.
They haven't asked us to leave and not do stuff yet. So until they do that, you will continue to see us out and about especially at Screenland, and I mean, honestly, you're a regular. You're part of the film family.
Been a part of the Screenland family. I was just telling you, so we'll get into it later when we get into the movie, but I've been in Kansas City for, I don't know, 12, 13 years or so. The World's End, longtime listeners will remember my previous co-host, Trevor, lifelong best friend. We both grew up in Florida, moved to Kansas City together, and The World's End was the first movie we saw together here. I went, like the first night I got here, I saw Only God Forgives at the Alamo. That's no longer here. But together, The World's End was the first movie we saw here as residents.
And it's a movie about, how relationships and friendships evolve over time. So imagine
Hot Fuzz was like our very favorite movie. We both liked Shaun of the Dead, but Hot Fuzz was like next. And we'll get into the trilogy here as well. But The World's End has a growing special place in my heart that we'll talk about. But in around Kansas City, it was one of my inaugural films. And yeah, the Kansas City film community, but particularly the Screenland film family, is just such a wonderful community.
And it's grown over time. And since probably back in 2015, there was a screening at the old Alamo Draft House of Conan the Barbarian. It was a 35 millimeter screening, and I had already picked up my tickets. And the creative director at the time sent a message us on through one of the social medias, like, "Hey, would you all mind hosting this?" And we're like, "Well, we already purchased our tickets." They're like, "No, you'll get free tickets, all this and that." And we're like, "Cool." And then ever since then, we've been if we show up out in front of a film, ideally, hopefully, the movie's going to be entertaining, but hopefully it's not it's those guys again.
No, I mean, you and Jay, that was your first like impromptu gig?
It really was. In fact, so impromptu, our entire intro lasted almost 20 minutes. It involved
just riffing.
Oh my goodness. It involved bringing 3 people down to recite lines from the movie Steel Magnolias, but in their best Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
As you do.
As you would, right. But we definitely not everyone was pleased because someone's like, "Hey, they were fun, but could they?"
We're here for the movie.
And then ever since then, we've got a tight 8 minutes, ideally, just to do what we do, as Genius would say, the yakety schmackety, and then get things going.
You also now, as it's built up, and particularly as Adam and Screenland has made more industry connections, you guys have great giveaways almost every time I'm at the Friday Night Fright screenings.
And thankfully, and I never want to be complacent about the fact that we are lucky enough to have a theater like Screenland is, that plays to modern films, but also has the repertory
For
audience
them,
that exists,
cinema
with
is
Friday Night Frights and
invaluable.
yeah, well, and I mean, Stray Cat as well.
Yes,
Another local indie theater here that we need them all. They all, and especially Stray Cat, has probably some of the most eclectic programming that you'll find in the Kansas City area. But with Screenland, we always try to make it that the idea is that if you go to a repertory screening at Screenland, it is a multi-course meal. You got vintage trailers as kind of an appetizer. You got the movie itself, and then ideally you've got the conversation that happens, in the lobby afterwards. But especially with like Friday Night Frights, we really try to make it something that is more bang for the buck. And
totally.
again, thank you for coming out and participating and being part of the family like that.
I brought in. Wow, it's late. I have brought several people to their first Screenland experiences there through the Friday Night Frights. I'm working on a few others, and one of my buddies for the Deep Red screening that we had a few months ago. I
Yes.
brought my buddy in from out of state. One of my buddies in Iowa. He was only like 2-3 hours away, but Iowa doesn't have a rep cinema community like we do. So he's like, "Yeah, that sounds fun. Let me do that."
I will say, I think there are certain elements of Iowa, the Varsity Cinema, our friends up at Attack of the Killer podcast.
Okay,
They do have some areas out there, but
nice.
thankfully we have ours here in the Kansas City area. Now, that night, if I remember right, we had a
Was
monthly
the
Cup of
first
Joe. We
one.
had a Joe Lynch intro with that, right?
Yeah, that was the first one as far as I know. And if anybody is not skipped ahead to the meat of this episode, I will tease that Joe and Becca are on the calendar here for a Deep Red episode coinciding with the re-release of a couple of old fashions.
They are two of the most pleasant people you will ever have the opportunity to interact with. They put out good in the world, and I know this episode will have already released, but they will all have participated in Yorkie-thon 9, which
Yeah,
is a
I'm looking forward to
yearly
that.
fundraiser they do to it's a no-kill Yorkie shelter, but they're just awesome people. So I'm looking forward to it. So thank you.
Yeah, Joe and Becca were on for our Panic Fest recap episode, and we had a great time. And I know they love Giallo, and that is something that like I just kind of haven't got into super deep yet. And I thought Deep Red was fantastic, so I got the loaded out Arrow edition, and I was like, "Hey, you're welcome on whenever." And they're like, "Well, as we get the new a couple of old fashions, like let's schedule something so that we can kind of do that." So that'll be fun.
That's great. And Vinegar Syndrome actually has the Forgotten Jallo series.
Eyes, those always look very gnarly. Like I'll just scroll through the titles and the descriptions and the screen caps, and I'm like, "Whoo, some of these are pretty rugged."
They look like ad libs. The title of these look like ad libs gone wrong. And the stranger the title, usually the more entertaining the film is. But also, you do have to tread carefully because
Yeah, 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 yeah.
a lot of stuff in the 60s and the 70s, international films. They are, as we like to say on the show, another time.
Oh man.
I was going to let you do the another place there, but yeah, be cautious.
Yeah, not safe for work material in there.
Exactly.
We mentioned Screenland and Stray Cat, but a nice segue into one of the things we wanted to hit before we got in. We also have the Liberty City Hall theater, which you a little while ago did a Q&A for a local filmmaker who just had a very nice Blu-ray come out through Vinegar Syndrome.
They Call Her Death by Austin Snell. And you want to talk about the most sincere love letter homage to the spaghetti westerns, talk about, international cinema from the 60s. This is that and then some, but it is a sincerely made movie. There is no irony here.
Yeah.
The tongue is not in cheek. Oh, I mean, look at that
Look
cover.
at that.
Oh,
Yeah,
and
there's the OG poster, but this slipcase is fantastic.
it's
So
beautiful.
some high quality podcasting there. We're not doing video yet because man, oh man, do I not want to have to wrangle that. But Vinegar Syndrome sent me a gorgeous new edition that they put out through one of their many, 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 many sub labels. This is Yellow Veil Pictures. Yeah, Austin Snell, They Call Her Death. This was super fun to see at Screenland with everybody. And you're my man. You're on your first, or have you been on many? You're on a boutique Blu-ray, my guy.
This is technically our first boutique Blu-ray that we're part of, which was why my apologies to the
Oh,
deputy involved. I totally messed that up in the intro. I'm curious to see if they keep it in. They're like, "Oh, we can edit that out." I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I will." Oh, but no, it was a pleasure to be part of it. I was actually at that viewing at Screenland, the cast and crew screening, and there is a certain scene that happens in this film that it is best experienced with an audience. And when they know what's coming and they start giggling into anticipation, very rare, and does a build up in your mind of what an experience really should be. It hit it and then some. So yeah, you have to watch it with friends, bring them together, make a movie night about it, and have fun with it. Yeah, this movie is Austin and the crew cast involved. Congratulations, you all knocked it out of the park.
yeah, it was super fun, and it's also been very gratifying to me as a guy who's a big proponent and trying to shine light on the Kansas City film community. I loved it when I saw it at Screenland, but it hit Shudder a little while ago. I didn't even know it was going to get a Blu-ray, but it hit Shudder a little while ago, and I'm seeing my friends around the country who have no personal ties to it watching it, going, "Yeah, this is cool. 3.5, 4 stars. Like, I really like this." Because I mean, you can tell that he just has so much love and passion for the genre, and like they made a really fun movie.
Fun is the key word there. And for a film that does get very gory, leans into the
Yeah,
horror adjacentness of some of the spaghetti western material. Yeah, it goes places. But it's one of those that I think is going to find its audience via Shutter streaming, or via
definitely.
people like ourselves that do collect the physical media. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, this is when I heard, I was so excited. But yeah, this is the perfect place for it. I was like, heck yeah. And then Vinegar Syndrome was very gracious to send us a copy. So thank you for that. And congrats to obviously Austin and the cast and crew, but Greg being on your first boutique Blu-ray, man. That's very I was like, oh, not I've met the people who made this. It's like I know the guy who is on the special features here.
well, unfortunately, Genius was doing a Friday Night Frights because we wanted to make sure we had someone there. And had he been there, no doubt it would have gone as normal. But no, congratulations to Austin and everyone involved. Getting Vinegar Syndrome for this film is perfect, perfect pairing of sensibilities. Yeah, yeah.
Isn't that his
This is,
feature debut? I don't have the page up in front of me. Like
I
technically,
believe so. I believe so now, and it's also shot entirely on 16 millimeter
yeah,
film, reel to reel, so you can see it, you
you
can
can feel it.
smell the cellular. It's
Just
great.
like the movie last night. Like there's such a charm to movies that are shot that way.
And the good thing is the difference between an Austin Snell film and a Joe Begas film is the lack of f bombs that we would have
My
played.
goodness.
They call her deaf a little differently.
Yeah, that was quite an experience last night. Still fun.
Oh yeah.
And it was more fun, honestly. Some of the meanness and the intensity filtered through like hearing him talk about what he was going for was very helpful.
It's filmmaking is as much therapy for those of us that watch it and use it, for those that make it.
Totally.
um, he mentioned Bliss be one of the worst parts of his life, but it's that film. Like I think I told you before, and it's like I think it's my favorite Begas film, but it was rough. He went through a rough patch with it, and that's actually why I do love movies and genre. And as we age and garner experience, our relationship with these films and art change. It's kind of great.
Well, I don't know if you intended to, but I couldn't have had a better segue there for our feature presentation, the meal of this episode. Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, says he was the writer, but Edgar Wright's The World's End, for now we're calling it the Cornetto Trilogy, the third one of the bunch. The Yeah, because this Shaun of the Dead was his first feature film. So yeah, Edgar Wright, Nick Frost, Simon Pegg, and then a lot of the supporting cast and crew and other folks that we've known and loved since Spaced. This was kind of a bit of a culmination to a lot of the growing up that some of us may or may not have done with these creative folks over the years. So, where did you start with in time with Edgar Wright? Did you catch Shaun of the Dead? Were you one of those cool kids that was on Spaced when it was like actually airing, or did you go back?
I reverse engineered into Spaced, but I was very much online in 2004. So either via ain'titcool.com, joblo.com, chud.com, I had heard of this film that was making the festival rounds, of this love letter to Romero movies, and it was funny and it had heart and humor. And I'm like, I'm seeking this out. So I caught it in the theater at a Cinemark in Mission, Kansas. I lived in Lawrence, Kansas at the time, so I made, the 40 some odd minute drive and it was so good. I went right home and went to my MySpace blog and talked
There
about
you go.
to age just when this movie came out.
21 years ago. Good
Oh my
night.
goodness. It doesn't seem that way. It doesn't seem that way. But I immediately fell in love with the movie because they were sincere.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
all the references, I'm like, hey, I know that one, or I understand that. And the
We're
heartbreak at
Coming to
the
Get
end,
You, Barbara is one of the hardest I've ever laughed, like at a joke the first time I saw it.
the use of the music with Queen, multiple Queen songs, it's unheard of. But at that point, then like you said, I then, living in Lawrence, I went to Liberty and I checked out probably I think it's just the 2 seasons of Spaced,
Yep.
and was like, oh, fan friend fan a friend a fanboy friends, and where he got his goof crew, and it's like, cool.
Yeah, no, I was the exact same way. I loved Shaun of the Dead when it came out, and I had somehow heard about Space. I don't think I saw it right away. So for me, it was a little, because I'm a little bit younger than you. I really, really liked Shaun of the Dead when it came out, but it was not one that was like a heavy, heavy rotator for me initially. But then when Hot Fuzz came out, I was like, this is killer. Because honestly, like in 2004, I was definitely not a big horror hound. Like I had seen some of the big ones. I think I had seen Night of the Living Dead, or maybe I hadn't even seen Night of the Living Dead at that point. But I liked it. It was fun. It was funny. It was clever. We all said you got red on you all the time. Like it was definitely a zeitgeisty thing that was like substantive. Like it was clever. It was fun. It was like the style and the filmmaking, all the stuff that he did in Space. But yeah, then when Hot Fuzz came out, then I went deep. I saw it in the theater several times. I brought new people. One of the this is bizarre, listeners. One time, this isn't the bizarre part. I brought my mom to one of the screenings. She loved it, and then like my mom brought one of her older friends, and her older friend did not like Hot Fuzz, but I was a huge, huge, huge Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost fan after Hot Fuzz, and then I went back and bought the Space DVDs and showed it to as many of my nerd friends as I could. And Spaced is great because, for better or worse, the Brits do like quality over quantity, and there are 14 episodes. There are 2 seasons, 7 half-hour episodes apiece. So if you're a high school or college kid with not a lot to do, you could watch the whole series in a weekend or a day for that matter. Yeah, like each season is 3.5 hours.
It's basically their farm system gearing everything up to make their Cornetto trilogy. Just the
Well, yeah,
formation of the
Shaun of the Dead came out of like a zombie gag from the show.
Yep, that Resident Evil gig.
Yeah.
And I believe initially he put together this short film called A Fistful of Fingers, which was his spaghetti western, kind of like putting, here's my chops, here's my editing style, and then Shaun hit. But you talk about Hot Fuzz. When I saw Hot Fuzz in the theater, again with you, possibly with you, maybe your mom and the mom's friend. Uh, I was I was married at that point, so
Okay.
a lot had happened in 3 years, and then the points of that film, on top of all the action, just the bromance, was also this whole thing of like finding a balance of your life and work, your career, your family, and harmony in maybe possibly one word, or for the greater good.
The greater
Uh,
good.
but it really resonated, and on top of all the action and the Timothy Dalton performance, which that
Aaron A. Aronson, which I think about regularly. Just there's so many good lines. Like Hot Fuzz is probably the movie that things out in my everyday life will trigger like quotes and jokes for me the most. Like anytime I go out to a coffee shop and somebody gets decaf, like I chuckle. The decaffeinated joke, I think, is one of my favorite sight gags. That's literally one of my favorite sight gags in film.
Edgar Wright's films are so visually rewarding. He knows how to use all the space. The scripts are rewarding. He will plant seeds early in the film that bear fruit at the very end. I mean, he is very careful, and especially on the editing. If you go, to Baby Driver, and that film is all about editing and music, and he's just always been so just cool. He's a fanboy. He loves Sam Raimi. He loves, you know, cool Italian cinema. It's just but he's just also he's very talented, and thankfully he has put out a number of films after the Cornetto Trilogy, and beyond.
We got one in a couple months coming.
And probably couldn't hit at a better time, just in terms of the current climate.
They're basically pitching that IRL right now, so we'll see how that, like, literally they've talked about like having little groups of people saying like, oh, like what would the public think about this?
The Mickey 17 was a blast. I really enjoyed it, but the satire just felt too real and not absurd enough. Same thing happened with another movie where it was satire, but it felt too real to really be satire.
Pretty tough in the current climate because it's so dumb and so obviously dumb, so many things that it's hard.
You got to up the level of the absurdity, I guess, in certain senses.
Which, again, this is a side note, but I've had this conversation. I think I briefly talked to you about this at the movie the other night, but talking to several of my friends, I'm pumped that Naked Gun is coming back. Like, have those like 10 jokes a minute movies come back. Like, we do need some relief.
Oh, and just silly, absurdist, turn your brain off and just let the comedy wash over you. And if it doesn't work for you, that's cool. Like, it's comedy. It's subjective, it's not going to work for everyone. But if it does work for you, there's nothing better than a first time viewing of a comedy.
Well, one thing that I would say might be better is something like this that is, like you said, so well written, so well structured, so well edited. I mean, I laughed as hard or harder on this viewing, which is, I don't know, maybe my dozenth or more viewing of this film than I did the first time.
But it's weird because I talked about kind of my adoration of Shaun of the Dead, my love of Hot Fuzz. My first time viewing in 2013 again.
Yeah, let's talk about that first viewing.
Yeah, I liked it. Didn't love it.
Same.
I liked it. It wasn't necessarily what I was anticipating or wanting at the time. But I think something we've mentioned that in 2013, I was still married. Now, and I mention all of this because it's my baggage at the time. So 2015 and beyond is now my certified bachelor lifestyle. And ever since I've watched that, I have changed so much. My life has changed so much that film has gone from I liked it to I love it. I adore it. It speaks to me in so many different ways now. And that was one of the main reasons of the wonderful laundry list you gave me to choose from, because there were so many movies like, I want to talk about that.
Oh yeah, I gave you the big master, like 200 stuff that I have curated, some of the stuff that the listeners have recommended that we check out. And yeah, it's a big list. And I was like, and feel free to nominate whatever you want. You're like, oh, The World's End. And I was like, yes, we need some levity. Like some of the last movies we've done have been like very wonderful, but like we've done Silence of the Lambs, we've done an Abbas Kiarostami beautiful Iranian movie about a guy reporting on a death ritual, like very good, wonderful stuff. But I was like, yes, we need some levity.
Yeah, being light on levity is fine, but you know, you laughing and just that whole catharsis, and that's why I
With
love
the
horror
substance, yeah.
and humor is just that purge that you get in that initial release, and that's why with The World's End, it continues the visual gags, the running gags of the WTF, the Gary constantly being talked to. He's such a narcissist that he just is just waiting for you to stop talking so he can then start his things. And I mean, it all does start and stop with the chemistry that they and the collaboration that they've built up over 3 films. And it
Well,
is
and
one of
those other guys, like, I mean, Martin Freeman was in the other movies. He was the one of the cops at the beginning of Hot Fuzz who's trying to get him to, like, retire or whatever. And, yeah, no, a lot of these guys have known each other for forever. But anyway, before we get to that, I will say same, hard same. I remember seeing it with my best friend Trevor. We love Edgar Wright, we love Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and we were both like, "Huh, this is funny." There's definitely a lot of laughs. Like, it looks cool, like, it's a well-made movie. This was, I think, his first. No, Scott Pilgrim was in between.
Mhm.
This was his second, um
It was, The Adventures of Tintin that was in between,
oh, okay, it was okay, then Scott Pilgrim was after.
and
The
Scott Pilgrim was before that. So between Hot
Okay, so
Fuzz
Scott
and The
Pilgrim
World's End,
was
he shot
before.
2.
No, I was gonna say it was his first collaboration with Bill Pope, but Bill Pope did
Oh,
cinematographer on Scott Pilgrim. So, like, I remember going as a technical piece of media, like, it was cool, but I was like, "What is this?" Like, Shaun of the Dead was a wonderful zombie movie that was very funny, and Hot Fuzz was a really cool action movie that was funny, and this was like, I don't know, my line for a while, my snarky film bro line was like, and this was just like a third because they're like, "Oh, like, make your little, um, trilogy or whatever," and I was like, "This just kinda felt like the 3rd movie." Like, what? His Body Snatcher movie? Like, what are we doing? But also, as I got older, like, all 3 of the films, in a way, are about growing up, but it was, like, 12 years ago, 12, 13 years ago when this came out, I was nowhere near 40. I was just not, like, at that stage of life, and now I'm creeping up on 40 going, like, it is really fun to look back on the glory days of you and your boys going out and having a great like, there is something so special about the type of fun you have when you have no responsibilities, and it doesn't even need to be reckless or destructive fun. But when you are young in your late teens and in your early 20s, the type of fun and the type like the closeness of relationships you can have with people who you can have the freedom to see all the time. Like my very best closest friends now, like I don't get to see them all the time. Like we have social media, which is something, or texts or whatever, but like when you're young, you get to be around your friends all the time. And that's very special. And seeing Simon Pegg's character in this movie kind of grapple with that, it hits a lot harder creeping up on 40 than it did when I was like 20.
well, let me just tell you, as someone that turned 49 this year, it doesn't get any easier.
Yeah, I just heard you say that yesterday. I was like, "Oh, my man, Greg's he's taking care of himself." I didn't know he was that close to 50.
Well, here's the thing. In 2013, I was married and I was, well into my career. And I had a different relationship with Gary King at the time. Well, again, mentioning now, many, years later, the struggles are different. And it was recent viewings of this film now where my viewing and relationship with Gary King and his character, it's more personal. And if I may be a little personal, Shaun of the Dead is one of those films where a moment in the movie prompted me to take this kind of internal look at myself and my dealing. And I'm very open on my show about my
You are.
dealings with depression, anxiety, esteem, and all the nastiness that's part of it, but also how, my relationship with films have helped with me with that, and
So
dealing with the
sort your
magnetic.
life out, mate.
And Shaun of the Dead was like, sort your life out. For some reason, a few years ago, when I saw that, it hit me in a way. It's like, okay, you're well beyond where you were back in 2004. Let's start sorting the life out. And I'll be honest, my goodness, Phil, this viewing, his kind of breakdown at the end hit harder again. And I'm thankful for this, because I think it was another pinnacle for me of my relationship with the film, but also, taking a look at myself at 49 going, okay, are we on a good track? Where are we at the world's end? What stage of the world's end are we? What pub, am I at, narratively, thematically? But I've loved growing with this trilogy and having that, since 2004, that relationship with it. And I love having these kind of opportunities to have these kind of conversations with people that have also formed these relationships. Cause I know we were typing back and forth and you said, yeah, I've, this movie's gotten better with age with me. And that's just, I think that's what I mean, Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright, Nick
I
Frost.
love those guys. I have
Yeah.
seen darn near everything that and I mean, as they get more famous and blah blah blah, they do a lot of stuff. But there was a time where literally anything that Simon Pegg or Nick Frost did at all, I was there.
They were on. It was a YouTube bit of the Nerdist. It was a celebrity bowling
Oh,
thing.
I watched that quite often back in the day.
They're part of it, and Nick Frost does this Robert De Niro bit of walking into
I love Nick
Spider's Web.
Frost so
It's
much.
so good. It is so good. Yeah, no, like you said, I've been a fan of theirs, not so much even the films, but just kind of their journey, and especially with like Simon Pegg, to see where he's gone into the Star Trek universe and the Star Wars
He's
universe.
been now in 75% of the Mission Impossible movies. And he is a cornerstone of those. Simon Pegg has been in 75% of those movies. It's
Well,
nuts.
wasn't it fun though back in the day to go, oh, it's Shaun.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing I took so many people. I didn't see movies all the time, like rewatch a lot in the theater, but I loved Philip Seymour Hoffman so much as the villain. I took a lot of people to MI3. I saw that 3 or 4 times in the theater, and I was like, "Oh, cool, Simon Pegg, my guy."
Philip Seymour Hoffman is, I'm gonna find her. I'm gonna hurt her.
I'm gonna hurt her.
Oh my god, it is so chilling. It is terrifying.
Like that's like the entity, whatever. It's a creepy idea, and now we're kind of living it, which sucks. But like Philip Seymour Hoffman was the only like legitimate scary bad guy, I feel like, in those movies.
But
Like
then
no one touched him.
yeah, but then Simon Pegg comes in with the levity, the hacking that
So
you
good.
need, and he complements everyone perfectly in that universe where he just fits right in. Yeah, Benji's an all-timer.
All of this personal talk too, particularly with this movie. I think if you look at the Cornetto Trilogy, and listeners, if you're not familiar, we've mentioned them all before. It's not a trilogy like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or whatever. It's kind of a trilogy created by the fans and the critics and stuff. It's I guess, yeah, a very subjective one, but that's Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and The World's End. The same director who wrote them with Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg wrote all these movies. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost were the anchor of all these movies, and they do have a lot of the background people were in 2 or 3 of them. A lot of them. But this movie in particular, maybe it's just because it was the third one, but like watching it again, this was also one I love all of those guys. I got the 3-pack Blu-ray when it came out of all those movies. All those Blu-rays and DVDs have like 2, 3, 4 commentaries each, and I've listened to them all. And just listening to all the stuff, particularly with Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg talking about all the stuff from their personal lives that they put in this movie. Like The drama teacher was Edgar Wright's drama teacher. Like the bullying thing that happened where the bully didn't recognize him, like that was like a real thing. The pool table story, all of that stuff. And then also very hugely, Simon Pegg wrote this. This was like 2 years after Simon Pegg got sober, and for Mission Impossible 4.
And when you know that, and when you go back to the movie, you can see him working those demons out in the performance of
Absolutely.
Gary King, which the catharsis, and it's so funny. The ending of there are multiple moments in this movie that I know some people embrace and love it and makes it their favorite of the Cornetto trilogy. But I also know there's moments in this movie that it loses people, and
Sure,
it's
just like it did for me on its premiere date.
we're so fickle with what we come to expect. And honestly, even the genre, kind of the invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah,
Have you
sci-fi.
seen?
Yeah.
Yeah, have you seen a lot of those in that genre yet?
Well, I have now. So I will also say, I meant to say this at the top. You mentioned Screenland and what you guys do for Friday Night Fights. Friday, whatever. I don't know if I'm going to even edit this now. You inspire, but in case I do edit this, I'll give myself a beat. Oh, what you guys do for Friday Night Frights? We're creeping up on episode 200. I'm not sure how many we'll have out by the time this gets published. You're the very first guest that has sent me a pre-show package to say, hey, let's watch this before the movie. You sent me some trailers and some intro videos and the Cornetto ad, and I was like, this guy's top notch. So did you have any like programming or projectionist stuff in your background? Like, was it just the Conan showing of Alamo that kind of sent you on this path? Like, where did that start?
It literally started at a Strangers screening in 2008
Okay.
at an AMC on the park the plaza. Horrible screening. I left and started doing a movie night at my house, and part of it was taking components of stuff that was going on locally. One of the old Screenland locations was off of 17th and Washington, getting very regional here. Sorry, everyone. But I went for a screening of Ghostbusters. And
Nice.
before they played it, they showed all these old 80s trailers for like Revenge of the Nerds. And I knew the trailer. And I was so hyped for the trailers by the time Ghostbusters played. I was like, it's fine. Seeing the trailers beforehand made a bigger impression. The pre-show stuff comes from the Draft House, knew of it. And, once I
Draft House
saw
did have like legendary pre-shows.
Oh, at Terror Tuesday, they had this particular pre-show that for me was this warm blanket of familiarity from the trailers that were played, from the scenes that they showed. But I've always loved that, and I have always programmed and put everything together. What would someone like myself, that is a kind of a slightly awkward introvert, if they go to a showing of something that's a movie thing, what would I like to see? And that's from what I've so hopefully it's worked for you ideally, when you
No, it
show up
was
for those.
great. I mean, there's like the classic Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but I thought it was so funny. One of the trailers on there that you sent me was Strange Invaders, which Imprint sent me the Blu-ray for. I haven't watched it yet. Tell me about that. You're having a reaction there.
I'm having a reaction. I don't have a couch to lay down on. There is some kinder trauma with that film. I'm going to just tell you this. There's a reveal at the end that scarred me as a kid because I was not always a horror fan. Growing up, I was kind of a coward. So I stayed away from scary movies, but this was advertised as a sci-fi film.
Yeah.
And it was sci-fi to a point, and then a certain thing happens. You'll know it when you see it. But oh my goodness, kinder trauma. So I hope you enjoy that one. Also, I should have thrown They Live on as part of the trailers.
You had another John Carpenter. I'm not going to call it like a hidden gem like masterpiece, but underrated and sometimes unfairly maligned. Maybe not like it's not a masterpiece, but I enjoy his Village of the Damned remake.
Oh, I only watched that for the first time last year.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's really good.
It's fun.
It's a lot of there. you anytime Buck Flower gets to show up in the John Carpenter universe, I'm always good with. But little creepy kids, uh, you can't go
Mark
wrong.
Hamill, Christopher Reeve. Come
Superman,
on.
my at
Yeah,
least my Superman, although the new Superman's quite good, I enjoyed him.
I need to
But
see it.
no, I legit, Phil, I do that before every home viewing of everything I take in because I actually project through my laptop up on a screen. So, I'll have a YouTube playlist with the pre-show trailers, and then I'll throw a DVD on, or I go to a streaming site. So legit,
Well,
that
that was a blast. So anyway, I wanted to call
sorry,
that
side
out, and
tangent
I
there.
will. It's not a private one, is it?
No, I think it's unlisted. It should be able to just be shared out
Okay,
to
I
anyone.
will put that in the show notes if listeners you want to watch the Greg Dedrick approved pre-show, and you can throw They Live in there if you want. They Live also incredibly relevant. I watched They Live on election night, I believe, last year.
Oh my
Not for the first time, but um I've seen it many times, and then it was great to see at one of, I don't know, in the last 2 or 3 or 4 Carpenter Fests, which I hear is coming back, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, did you see the WrestleMania lineup?
WrestleMania is also, so I mean, they're doing so much with WrestleMania. I wonder what they're gonna do for Carpenter Fest. Do you have any
I will tell
off
you
air?
this. I will tell you I am pulling for some deeper cuts.
Me
Like
too. I've been saying we should do a sci-fi one. I don't know how many, just don't tell people, and do Dark Star, Starman, and Ghosts of Mars. What, like sci-fi Carpenter?
I'll co-sign that lineup, as will a number of Ghost of Mars fans. There
I
are
like
a
Ghost of Mars. Starman would crush in a theater. Like the emotional tenderness of that in
yes.
between, like the juvenile, like kind of anarchy of Dark Star, and then kind of the insanity of Ghosts of Mars. I think that would be an incredible triple feature.
Well, and I will co-sign that because Dark Star is on my Carpenter list of films I have yet to watch.
So, Carpenters, we are off track. I promise we'll get back to The World's End. Carpenter is one of, like, he's one of my top. He's like a Mount Rushmore guy for me. The only thing of his that I haven't seen that I do own, and technically, I don't even know if you want to count it because it was a TV movie, but Elvis, like, whenever I have 3 hours to watch a movie, like, I still haven't seen Drive My Car or Tar or Beau's Afraid. Like, I got a bunch of 3 hour movies that are ahead of the Kurt Russell Elvis TV movie, but Elvis is the only outstanding one for me. But how
That,
great would it be to have Dark Star be your first viewing in the theater? It's so silly,
yep.
and I'm sure you know some about it, but like it's kind of the proto Alien, but like slacker anarchist alien on like kind of like a They Call Her Death or Jeff Bezos kind of style.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
fun.
first Carpenter. It's a student Carpenter, technically.
It's not even like he hates it. Like he hate that like people are calling that his first film.
Yeah, but it's part of his growth. It's part of his evolution, and you got to start somewhere.
Well, I got you on. I doubt that Adam will listen to this, so maybe I'll cut something. Yeah, put a bug in his ear. Sci-fi Carpenter, because I don't think any of those have ever been shown. Right?
No, they haven't, and believe me, we're pushing for you because that's
From him.
everyone has seen The Thing. Everyone's seen Escape from New
I'll go
York.
see The Thing and Escape from New
And
York, and They
listen,
Live every year.
and Big Trouble in Little China is my favorite all-time Carpenter, but
Love it.
we need to see other Carpenter.
Starman, actually, Starman is one that we're probably going to be covering on this show somewhat soon. We keep rescheduling it, but a long time author friend of mine who wrote one of my favorite letterboxed reviews of all time on Starman. Like I saw his review years and years ago. I was like, one day we need to talk about Starman on the show, and I think it's coming soon. I think we're getting closer. We'll see.
Bring tissues. That one is
It's the
so
best.
wonderfully warm.
Anyway, so back to The World's End. This is a very personal movie. We're a ways in. We haven't exactly talked about the plot. I don't know who's listening that hasn't seen it, but gist of the film is there were these 5 friends in high school or just post high school that tried to do what they call the Golden Mile, which is one pint in 12 pubs in one night. So 12 pints apiece, and they didn't complete it. And the ringleader of this, Gary King, just couldn't live with him. It's been eating him up for years and years. And four of his other friends in the friend group grew up and got jobs and had families, and they're what the frig is my kid running around? But yeah, they grew up, they have families, they lost their families are in limbo, they've got jobs, this and that, they have responsibilities that they're working on, and Gary just drank himself silly. And but it's a very sobering transition, which I also really didn't like the first time I saw it, because it's got this incredible opener of the past when they didn't complete the Golden Mile, but it's this like grandiose, like Simon Pegg telling this great story with great editing and funny jokes. And he's like, and at the end of their story, they're like, oh, like it was the best. It'll never get better than this. And then it jumped like 20 years. And he's like, and it never did. And he's in like what looks like an AA circle. And you're like, woof, like this brought the mood down immediately. Like I remember seeing that in the theater going, what is this? What just happened?
They're growing up, and they're growing up before our eyes, before some of us were ready to grow up and really tackle these particular issues in this particular way. And that's why I think this movie does work so well and allows you to grow with it. And if you've never dealt with any kind of depression or any kind of dependency, um, thankfully that's awesome, you're amazingly lucky. But if you have, you can understand why people can sometimes get caught up in the past because of all the
Well,
pure
yeah,
joy it gives you in the
particularly now. Yeah, like
oh yeah.
looking back, going, "Oh, wasn't it great when we were blah 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 blah." Yeah, and if you're like 20 and you're living those great years, in 15, 20 years, like that's a thing that everybody goes through.
You mentioned earlier real responsibility. There's that magical little time lapse where you don't have it, where you ideally get to do the fun
You
things that
get
you
to
can
do
look
the
back.
golden miles and have the rowdy nights. Like you could stay out all night, like not going to like not substance abuse, but like yeah, drinking, going to parties, having fun, just living your life. And then you're like, oh, like I got a mortgage, I got a job, I got kids, I got a podcast that I got to put out every week. Like just the responsibilities of life.
Yeah, you blink and life has happened, and you get caught up in the past that you don't pay attention to the present, not even thinking about the future. And that's what I love with this film is, the dangers of just being caught and stuck in the past versus dealing with things head on. As and we'll get to the ending eventually, but the ending has also resonated with me and changed over times as well. And that's
There's so much to like about the body in the movie itself, but like on a very basic level, one of my favorite types of movie is like the getting the band back together kind of movie, or just getting the band together, but in this case back together. Like it's such a fun time, and all the little vignettes of Gary fast talking everybody to try to sign everybody up to do the Golden Mile again 20 years later. Like they're all like, this is crazy, but I guess let's indulge it. Like he's a force of nature. And that's a refrain through the movie. It's like there's no arguing with Gary. Like that's, and it will come to be very important at the end, but like that's the thing. They're just like, okay, we'll go along with you, Gary. Like we're in our 40s. We'll do the golden, like we'll drink 12 pints of, like nobody thinks that it's going to happen, but they're like, I guess we can't say no to this guy.
yeah,
And,
he's never wrong.
yeah, and the getting the band back together, just like the first 30 minutes, it's so funny. I laugh so much in the first 30 minutes of this movie.
Well,
Just the fast talking script and the editing, it's just so good.
And to watch him and them go back into their old dynamics of so many years ago,
As 40-year-olds, yeah, it's so good.
contrasting that when he walks into the his dealership and the guy's dad shows up and he's just, oh hey Mr. Pye, well, how you doing? He's like, what's he doing here? Gary was that friend that maybe your folks were like,
Yeah.
he's coming over.
Be
Oh,
careful
no.
of that guy.
Yeah, be careful of him indeed.
Don't sign any vehicular paperwork for him.
And what's interesting though is you realize, the shock of seeing them when he is putting the band back together, that it shows, doesn't necessarily tell you that there has been this distance of time. They've grown apart, and why are we doing this? What is the reason? And with Gary, there's just this manipulation that is constantly going on. And but one of my struggles with the film initially was rooting for Gary, because he challenges
Simon
you
Pegg
to
kind
root
of
for him.
sucks a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, in so many different ways, but it's also showing the complexity of humanity.
Yes.
We're not perfect. Neither is Gary. Neither are you. Neither are myself. And he's going to make, choices throughout the film that were going to make us laugh, going to make us cry, going to confound us and make us angry. But that's part of what's, being a human.
Well, and that is very substantive, but also just, I think that maybe perhaps you could accuse them of being a little bit trying to have it both ways, but I actually think the writing does a really good job of like the thematic tension of individualism versus conformity, one with like responsible adult society, but then with humanity versus the network, and then post spoilers, post the end of the world, like the anti network prejudice that happens at the very, very, like the constant tension of like what groupthink or whatever, like trying to assimilate. Like sometimes assimilation is good, but also individuality is good. And like the film very, like there is a lot of substance in considering those things, and I think the movie does a good job of like holding the tension of all of those kind of hard things that we all like. We all are individuals, but we all live in society. We agree on a set of rules, and like that's the sort your life out. Like we should be regularly checking in to make sure the things that we're conforming to are worth conforming to and that have value. But like the network, and we haven't even talked about the network yet. So they go home and then they find some stuff is off, and they're just like, oh, like we're living in nostalgia, right?
Or possibly, is it that, the old town has come under and we're going to argue about what to call them, robots. And that's part of the Edgar Wright fluidity of the language and the back and forth and the smashy Eggman.
So funny.
Be
That
my
was an
favorite.
ad lib. That was a Nick Frost ad lib.
It's perfect as an ad lib, and it is one of those standout scenes, as you mentioned, as the complexity of the film, because I can guarantee somewhere out there's a dissertation that has been written that has referenced stuff of the themes from this film. But we also have Marmalade Sandwich. We have the interesting narrative of the 12 pubs of the Golden Mile, of with each the name of the
very
bar
representative, yeah,
has ties to the story of where they're at and what they might actually encounter with it. And that's another reason why I love Edgar Wright and those collaborations, is they reward upon the rewatches.
Yeah, all three of those movies are some of the most rewatchable movies. And I mean, I've watched Scott Pilgrim this year twice. And yeah, his stuff is extremely rewatchable.
I believe that we'll be playing at Screenland, possibly in September. Be on the lookout.
There you go. Local listeners, check it out.
Go for it. Question.
Yes.
Have you ever looked at the correlation of the title of the pub in relation to the shenanigans that occur at said pub?
Oh yeah, no, that's great. And that was when when the DVDs and the Blu-rays first came out I love kind of nerding out over that with like the documentaries and the
Oh,
commentaries,
yeah.
and it's so much fun.
I mean, I am an old school, but yeah, I literally still have that old DVD
Nice.
that is loaded with that great making of all the commentary tracks. And thankfully, in a day and age where that is a lost art and something you don't get every day, he loads the
Yeah.
DVDs, the Blu-rays with extras. I mean, copious amounts of where it can be almost be overwhelming. But I think people
Well,
like
I
us are
think
like,
that also probably went into fueling like my like admiration and appreciation for these guys, because not only did I really like Shaun of the Dead and I love Hot Fuzz, I just have the Blu-ray 3-pack now. I might have the super duper DVD somewhere, but I got like the 3 or 4 disc DVD of Hot Fuzz that had everything, that had Fistful of Fingers, that had so much stuff, and it's like they were just putting themselves out there creatively, and if you resonated with it, you could just go really deep, and there was so much to be enjoyed.
oh yeah, their commentaries are sometimes better than the films occasionally based on my rewatch. Um, because they knew, I mean, I guarantee you they've listened to a Carpenter and Kurt Russell commentary
Those are
and they
so fun.
knew those vibes, and the film is a vibe.
Well,
The
they're
the
very
story
informative, but like in each successive one, like at one point, even they had like some of the people who were zombie extras in Shaun of the Dead do a commentary, or they'll get some of their famous friends to do commentaries. Like they just have a really good time with the medium.
one of the during that snap cut at the beginning with Simon Pegg, the lady to his right was the Bloody Mary zombie, the very first
Yes, it
one in Shaun
was.
of the Dead.
Yep.
So that continued connective tissue of the Easter eggs on top of the storytelling, on top of now I've grown to appreciate not only the fact that it is a sci-fi body replacement film, there are some crazy, kind of complex and carefully choreographed fight scenes that happen.
Legitimately really well choreographed, excellent like action scenes. Like I don't know if I thought it before, maybe it was fresh on my mind because the other day I just watched my Arrow Blu-ray of Millionaires Express. Like Nick Frost was exuding some very strong Sammo Hung vibes in the final half of this movie.
There's a bit on the extras where when he does that whole "Arr!" and tears his shirt off, that was an homage to a Sammo Hung character. I believe their stunt coordinator had actually
It
worked
was the
with.
same one. Yep.
Yeah, so that's no mistake that that was working within there, and they got to the point where I was seeing a number of wrestling moves being employed, from a rock bottom to a people's elbow to a Bane backbreaker,
And the
which
rock bottom actually was also used at a very thematic, like writerly time as well. Like there are a lot of layers, like, and I didn't catch the rock bottom at that particular point, like that was kind of a riff on that until the commentary track illuminated that for me. But it's like these movies are just so rich.
well, and to see how they are able to creatively make those particular scenes, the bathroom fight scene, um, and then the dance room fight scene, to make it look like they're oneers, but he knows when to put in
Yeah.
these little cuts, and everything is so well thought out that he knows how to film to make sure those cuts and edits work so well that I'm like I'm just having so much fun being fluid with the camera to see all of the blue-blooded chaos, which lets them get away with so much of. If that were red, they'd be in a lot of trouble. But when
Yeah,
you're
that might be hard to get by, but yeah, no, they had ink all over their hands.
yeah, it's it's ink, yes, ink, and the back and forth, and how the smashy Eggmen are actually put together. They do look like some of those cool, um, like I would have haven't got these action figures on the black market the way they're put together. But I love how fragile they are, but how undestructible they are.
It is a really cool mix up, and like how they learn to fight them progress like as the movie goes. Like yeah, it's done so well. And we've mentioned John Carpenter a few times here. The look of when they fully reveal themselves, when their faces and eyes just have that blue glow, that was taken right from that iconic poster
Makes
for The
sense.
Thing.
It I've been watching a
Another
lot of
replacement movie.
No, yeah, right. Well, I've been watching a lot of Jallos lately, and the lighting, of course, is important with that kind of stuff, and just that specific look they have. Realizing that all they did was like put in LEDs, just specific flashlights, but it gives them such that distinct look and that sound they make. Whether that's they're trying to cover the sound by constantly pushing the hand warmer or dryer, which always cracked me up, to that reveal of Pierce freaking Bronson. And my goodness, Pierce Bronson as part of our goof crew here. It's
Yeah,
wonderful.
the second James Bond in the Cornetto movies.
Oh, that's right. That's
Edgar
right.
Wright, was bemoaning in one of the commentaries I was rewatching that they didn't have a Bond in Shaun, so that was only a 2 out of 3 for them.
George Lazenby showing up in Shaun of the Dead would have been perfect. But it's great because the Pierce Bronson character gets to be one of the kind of the exposition dumps in terms of throwing that whole idea of individualism versus this collective.
Yeah.
They and throughout their travels in the world's end, the homogenization of our culture, of our arts, um, is that sameness, as you mentioned, is that a good thing? Where does the individual come into play? I can't remember if it is in um, Plato's Society, or not Society, the Republic, where they ban art and that kind of thinking potentially, because that's not necessarily conducive to that. But as we see, art is good. Art allows us to, talk about these things. In fact, the art that we're seeing within these last 5 to 10 years will be reflective of a lot of stuff.
Oof.
So again, there's those kind of elements that I think that you can employ with this particular film.
Very much so. Um, do we have it? I mean, we haven't mentioned specifically the cast beyond the top 2. Um,
Well,
pause.
Patty Condensine,
I love Patty Considine. He's wonderful. Considine?
Condensine.
Um,
Can you co-sign on the Condensine?
Wonderful
Well,
actor. Apologies.
Well, and with or without a mustache, still wonderful. And he is one of the examples of someone then of the Goof Crew that have their life together. He's got a
Ish. He is dating
career.
a 20-year-old. He is coping in his own way.
Yeah, specifically a personal trainer on that side as well. He puts out all of the bio to everyone. To see O-Man, and his family interactions. Nick Frost, given the career man performance, he himself hiding demons that
That
eventually.
you do, like, and honestly, that's a really interesting, like, he seems to be the most grown up of them all,
Mhm.
but then when the marmalade sandwich blanks try to seduce him, and like his uh journey to get his wedding ring back afterwards, then he reveals that like he's separated and they're having hard times and he's trying to figure it out. Like, and again, this movie didn't have like, this movie is ostensibly like a pub crawl with 40-year-olds who are trying to relive the glory days. Yet there's so much.
Well, everyone has a journey. Every character, from O-Man and the Bully, to the interactions with the sister, played by Rosamund Pike, who I can
Wonderful.
understand the crush that they all
Oh,
carry with
totally.
her.
And I will say, the last couple times I watched this, I noticed this in particularly, they nailed, I don't know how, I think it was Naira Park is their casting person. The young gal who plays her in the flashbacks, a phenomenal match. Like, that looks like a young Rosamund Pike. That was
It's
crazy.
yeah, it's uncanny. It's
Like, you can
perfect.
tell by how they dress and carry themselves, like the younger versions of them in the flashbacks. But like the Rosamund Pike likeness was just nuts.
The, there's a movie that's going to be, it's an outdoor screening. It's a film called Now and Then. But it's basically a film where you have, it's like Demi Moore,
Oh,
um,
yes.
Melanie Griffin, all them, and then younger versions themselves. So it's that kind of a theme. And some of the casting in that one is also very spot on. And if you can make that happen, oh, just the connection you carry over with those characters works that much well. So then when they're all getting involved, though, when they all have this journey from Gary King and his awkwardness, and just with every escalation from the bathroom interaction to the manipulation of everyone to a reveal of the mom showing up on the phone, you start.
Woof, that was a hard one.
Oh, and that was what, and this
You already
aforementioned.
don't like Simon like, not you don't like him. Like, he is charming, but like he's that charming guy that always like kind of puts you in a bad spot.
Yeah, he again, he was the one your parents warned you about, and now he has yet to grow up, and we're not attributed to accrued to what, what he's gone through. But yeah, so that interplay with them, with the humor, with the fight scenes, with the build up and the catharsis, it just, I love how it actually then coalesces into just one of the weirder endings that I know is still divisive for people, but for me, the journey is the film, and I loved the characters and their interactions. I just, yeah, this is such a welcoming film to go back to in so many different ways.
No, very much the final. So there's 12 pubs, with the World's End being the name of the 12th and final pub. When they finally get to the World's End with whoever is left, and I love that they're so good at foreshadowing in all three of the Cornetto movies. Um, but their dialogue in the car about three musketeers, well, it should have been five because two could have died and you still have three left. Like, the three musketeers at the end of this movie, who are still human, when they get to the World's End, the final showdown, like, they've had the action scenes,
Mhm.
they've had the chases, they've had the modern art that's not modern art, creature action. But then when it gets to a final scene, like, it's a philosophical and battle of wills, because the network and Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, as they wrote it, the network wasn't seeking to be nefarious. They were seeking to homogenize in order to find progress, because they're like, hey, like, and again, this is in the fictional world of the movie, but they're like, planet Earth is like way down on the like sophistication scale, like wars, blah. And I mean, it's a timely thing, like wars, famine, selfishness, all these things. Like, you're pretty far down planetarily on thriving. So we're going to homogenize in order to kind of bring you guys up. But then you also, like, individuality is also valuable. So that the battle of wills between the disembodied voice of Bill Nighy as the ultimate network figure, and then that the offer of, so Gary King, this whole movie, wants to relive the glory days. He wants to be 20-year-old Gary King and lead the Five Musketeers on into, it was like annihilation. Like, he just wanted to, and they have the song from the beginning, like, we want to get annihilated. Like,
Mhm.
they just want, he wants to be a 20-year-old who parties so hard. And then the network offers that to him. They're like, hey, here's you as a 20-year-old blank. Put your consciousness in it. Like, here is an indestructible, although very smashy, smashy Eggman destructible. Like, here is a, but I mean, we saw Pierce Brosnan got smashed and then they made a new one. Like, here is how you can live forever. Like, here is your indestructible, like, here's your chance at immortality. And he's like, well, like, no, that's not
Mm.
me. And very humorously and profanely tells him off. And at that point, Patty and Nick Frost are so hard on his side, going like, yeah, like this isn't what we want. Like we want to be able to do this. We want to have the freedom to determine our fates and all this stuff. And eventually the climax of the movie is they're so pig-headed they frustrate the entity into leaving Earth.
Wait,
And that's
and
that.
leave it to our de facto protagonist that we've followed along on this complicated journey to, in certain way, in some perspectives, possibly freeing mankind, or in other perspectives,
Doing.
possibly,
Yeah.
yeah, challenging mankind, freeing us from technology, getting back to Mother Nature, establishing a better boundary within things,
But
which
but then also you have all the resources that are gone and kind of the wastelandy stuff, and then somehow like this it's very writerly, and I don't begrudge them that at all. They're just like, yeah, after like months or weeks of the entity leaving Earth, like all the blanks that were still in one piece or partial, like they woke back up and like they're a part of society now. And then you've got like human versus blank prejudice and like the fences and the no blanks allowed, like then you've got that. But and then
history finds a way to repeat itself. Humanity will find ways to not necessarily damn itself, but find ways to be complicated, hypocritical, but all of what makes us still humans in a lot of ways.
you have again, it's so well done. A throwback to the first time when Nick Frost's character ordered water, and he's like, "What's braver than going into a pub of a bunch of ugly, big, strong, scary dudes and ordering a water?" And Simon Pegg is ordering a water for his blank comrades that are his best friends young selves. Like he gets to be the ringleader of that forever young thing, but he's also doing a good thing at that point. Like it's just so well done. And you
I'd
get your
like
little cornetto gag at the very end.
Oh, that gave me quite the giggle. But yeah, I'd like to think that Gary is now on this like road to self-discovery of dealing with his demons and doing it with his proper, for him, therapeutic path in a
Yeah,
way.
clean
Because
shaven and ordering water.
right, but there is a moment though with this movie, and it's what again resonated with me really hard, is that breakdown they have right before the naive reveal and that philosophical battle. But that whole thing of the closure that I thought he wanted to have with the Golden Mile, knowing I don't think he was going to look forward to the next day. I think had the blanks not shown up, I think Gary King would have done something possibly, self-harm to himself.
He
But
did not intend, and he doesn't say it explicitly, but he makes it clear that he's not necessarily planning on surviving
no,
through
no,
this.
this is that one thing he could never cross off that list of things to make him complete. And when he has this is all I have,
Yep.
and that confession, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really hits deep. And his delivery, and then knowing the demons he was going through in real life, you can feel that emotion. And there's even a line when he's talking about how they were telling me when to go to sleep, and it's just, you can feel his pain.
Yeah, in his
And that
treatment program, he's like, "Yeah, like, I'm Gary King, and they were telling me when to go to sleep." Like,
and he's
that's
been dealing
heartbreaking.
Yeah, and he's been dealing with his pain without his mom, who he hasn't talked to in like 8 months, without his friends who obviously haven't talked to him in longer than that. So, you all of a sudden you peel away all these layers, and things make more sense, and it doesn't absolve him from being all his manipulation and all the bad things that he's done, but you can understand.
Oh, very much so. No, this is a great one. Very funny, very thoughtful. immensely rewatchable, just 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 kind of a banger.
A definite WTF kind of film.
That was like, and I remember like laughing pretty hard at that the first time. Like, I feel like that joke has had to have been told before somewhere. Like, I feel like someone's had to have done that before, but no, it was landed very well.
No, and my apologies if you could hear Charlie barking in the background. She just went outside through her doggy door, and I just heard her come in, shaking the water off. So
Well, there you go. It is a rainy time in Kansas City here. Well, any final thoughts, Greg?
I will just say, I think if you have not seen this film, number one, you don't have to see, Shaun of the Dead, hey Charlie, or Hot Fuzz to enjoy it. I don't think you have to have seen any of the Invasion of the Body Snatcher films, the Kinder Trauma classic that is Strange Invaders or They Live to enjoy it. But I think if you've lived a little, you've experienced life, this is a film that can grow with you. I'm glad you allowed me to talk about this movie, to experience it again, and actually to be part of this. Again, I love talking to people in this kind of environment, and without doing the show, without you showing up to Screenland and being part of the family, this wouldn't happen. So thank you for letting me to get a chance to talk about this one.
No, my pleasure. I have enjoyed the podcast, but I've really enjoyed being a part of the Friday Night Frights crew. And you're wearing your shirt today, not visual. Like, this last year at Panic Fest was just such a wonderful time that I I hope it stays small and special. And as long as it's happening and I'm in Kansas City, I'll be here. And if for whatever reason against my will, if I leave Kansas City, I'll try to make it back for Panic Fest. That was just such a great crew, such a great time.
Yeah, well, you're part of why it is memorable. We say, come see movies, but make memories. And, through the variety of screenings, the people that show up, like you said, Jeff and, Joe and Beck are part of the family now because of Panic Fest.
Yep.
And they continue to, bring people in and expand the family. Yeah, but already, I know they're already thinking and putting the stuff together for next year.
And I have heard enough people, I've heard more than one person say out loud the other thing that they're potentially doing. So it sounds like it's happening, and that I don't think there's been a formal announcement, but it sounds like we may be getting graced by their presence again, which will be cool.
Well, I will say, depending on when this is going to be released on August, this is going to be, let's see here, the 5th, 12th. It should be August 19th. Wait, hold on. August 22nd. Excuse me. No, excuse me. Goodness. August 15th. We are, Friday Night Frights is partnering with Panic Fest, a screening of American Psycho, but we're going to have the
Oh,
co-writer,
yeah.
Guinevere Turner, in attendance to talk with us afterwards and beforehand. So highly recommend coming out for that one if you can.
Yeah, bring your cinematograph Go Fish Blu-rays that just went on sale. I almost got one. I didn't quite. I've been spending so many sales have got me this year. And I did do some Vinegar Syndrome sale. And also, yeah, it was great when they sent me They Call Her Death, because I was like, "Oh, I'll grab that." I was like, "Oh, actually, what if they'll send that to me?" So they
That's
were
rad.
very
And
gracious to do that.
I'm glad that you've got that, partnership, and you can promote that, because that's the biggest thing, is getting people to partake in it and just to show why, physical media matters. Because if you're, relying on streaming, that'll come back to bite you. But physical media, no, it's always there.
And again, man, I don't know if you're intentional, but you're the master of those segues. Speaking of sharing and getting other people into the stuff we're enjoying, what have you been watching, reading, listening to? Shout outs you got to share. If you've got a few, what have you been enjoying lately?
Well, on our show here for the month of July, we've done this thing called Julio, where we have been taking in a number of Giallo films, and I can highly recommend a number of them that I've watched, whether they, in fact, technically, they were all rewatches for me, but a genius. A lot of them were first timers,
Nice. Yeah,
including.
I'm with Genius. I've only seen a couple of the big ones, plus the ones I've recently watched for Friday Night Frights.
Well, and there's so many of them out there that it's intimidating to really delve into that pool, but I can highly recommend Dario Argento's Four Flies on Gray Velvet. Highly recommend, with a kind of a
Great
salacious
title.
warning, Lucio Fulci's The Lizard in a Woman's Skin. And of
Okay.
course, Mario Bava's Blood and Black Lace. Just fantastic. In fact, before we started recording, I just watched Knife Plus Heart for the second
Okay.
time.
I've watched 0 out of 4 of those.
Well, I'll tell you, Knife Plus Heart is a gay French giallo that
Okay.
we played as a Friday Night Frights, which I watched it for the first time as a Friday Night Frights, and boy, oh boy, I'm glad I brought the beaded curtain out for that one. So highly recommend checking out a giallo or two. There is a flavor for everyone. Just remember to make some room for it.
Any are you an audiobook or a book or a podcast listener?
Oh goodness, I can tell you all. I am not so much on the audiobooks, but podcast. I have a weekly rotation. I actually contribute Patreon to the We Hate Movies podcast. They have brought me so much joy and laughter through many a year. The Movie Crypt podcast with Joe Lynch and Adam Green. And then, a lot of locals here in the area. There's the Media Rewind podcast. There is the Movies That Suck and Some That Do podcast. There is the Horror Pod class. I'm missing Carnage Report. I'm missing someone. They're going to yell at me. But any of the local ones that
What
are
a
here in the
lineup.
Twin
There
City
you
area.
go.
Yeah, no, there's a number of them, and they're great because they realized this is fun. Just a chance to talk about things you love, and with expanding your network of friends, it's a pretty cool thing.
It's pretty great. I will highlight I shouted this out on Instagram because it is now doing it actually didn't play at Panic Fest. Sadly, I was trying to get them to submit, but they're doing the festival lineup now. I think they just I could pause for editing. I know they just won a decent award at a festival, and they're scheduled to play more festivals at the end of July and throughout August. Friend of the show, former guest, future guest, Romina Dugo. She's an actress. She was on our I Like Movies episode. Greg, have you seen I Like Movies, by the way? Sidebar.
I have not.
I think you would love it. I'm pretty sure it's on Hoopla on Canopy. It's a Canadian film set in the aughts. Annoying cinephile gets a job at Blockbuster. Coming of age kid trying to go to film school. Socially awkward movie lover guy. Really, really wonderful movie. We had the star of the movie on the show. Great conversation. She became a friend. But she's got a new movie out called Portal to Hell, which sounds like it could be disposable genre fodder, but was pretty fun, genuinely funny in a number of parts, and actually genuinely substantive. I'll see. I don't know how much it gives away. What does it say? Okay. The letterbox tagline says, after a debt collector finds a portal to hell in his washing machine at his local laundromat, he's propositioned to do feeding its sinners to save his neighbor's soul, maybe at the expense of his own. So his neighbor, played by They Live's Keith David, is
Oh.
dying. And he's like, well, if you can find some undesirables, shove them in this portal to hell, we will incrementally heal your neighbor, Keith David. And it's kind of his moral dilemma in this portal to hell. It's thoughtful, it's funny, it's a great time. And Romina was great. Keith David and Richard Kind were both phenomenal in it.
Richard Kind and Keith David. That is
Yes.
a buddy cop movie that we really need to make happen at this point.
Well, I will say Richard Kind plays the human form that the treaty making demon takes, and he's very funny, very maliciously funny. Really fun movie. It's playing a lot of festivals. Eventually it'll be on VOD. If it's playing near you, check it out. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, that was a really great one for me. I enjoyed that quite a lot.
No, I think the totality of everything, from the pre-show, the trailers, to rewatching it, to the conversation that we were able to have here, I'm very happy to have been part of the substantive process here, and especially just getting one of those checked off the list there. So thank you for letting me be part of this.
My pleasure. I I'm gonna have links to your shows. Where would you like people to be directed? I know you've got the weekly Nightmare Junkhead. Come to Screenland and say hi to Greg.
Say hi to Phil too. He'll be there. He'll
Patronize
be there.
Screenland. I'm there often. And I checked, man, oh man, I'm probably close to like 75% of the stuff I see at Screenland is rep. I'm at 34 movies this year, and most of them are not new.
It's appreciated because, like, as we always mention, you're supporting local, which I mean that helps out. Like again, Screenland, Stray Cat, go out there. We try to cultivate a good, quiet, courteous audience, so you know
Totally.
your dollars
Oh,
are well spent.
that's what it was. I don't know if I've shouted this out on the show. I did a guest spot on my friend Conan's show, Movie Night Extravaganza. I was stunned and overwhelmed at how much I enjoyed 28 years later. I don't think we've shouted that one out yet. Wonderful movie, incredibly substantive. I cried like 2 or 3 times in the movie.
You and me both. I cried harder the second time when I took it in, and very personal stuff with that one as well. You talk about the baggage. Yeah, I'm glad
Jodie
that worked for you as well as
Comer's
it did for me.
whole arc was just gorgeous. It was and this was in like this is a 23-year-old legacy sequel to a very I mean, the very, very end of 28 Days Later was hopeful, but that was a pretty mean, dark movie. But this was like just a beautiful celebration of humanity while also being a very enjoyable zombie movie.
Yeah, there's some of the more tender moments that you'll ever experience in a genre film. And you're what I love is just you hear and see one thing, and then there's a reveal, and oh, that reveal is just so lovely. And it contains probably one of my favorite performances in any film this year, Ray
Yeah.
Fiennes.
The Ray Fiennes Jodie Comer scenes are high up there on my favorite of the year. And I think even after all of the, I'm sure, very good award stuff in the final quarter, like that's still going to be pretty high up there, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm glad people are giving it a chance, giving it some love, and just knowing and we're getting the sequel in January, I believe.
Yeah, we'll get to see what the Jimmy's boys or whatever are up to.
To watch, I mean, I remember my initial first time reaction going, wait, what just happened? But then to do the peripheral viewing to know people are watching it the first time, to see them react to that ending, it's a trip. It's a trip.
It is that. So come hang with us at Screenland sometime if you're in the area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. New movies, old movies, go to Rewind video down, in the back, very speakeasy-esque, and just come out, just chill out with everyone. It is a place for movie lovers to come watch movies, talk about movies, and just interact with the film family.
So there you have it. That was The World's End with my buddy Greg D. Love hanging out with Greg. Love seeing movies with him. After we recorded this, I mean, we didn't watch The World's End together in the same place physically, but we recorded this only a day or two after, and we mentioned it in the show. Jeff Bezos came here with, I believe it was Jimmy and Stiggs. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but I believe it was called Jimmy and Stiggs. It's a super grimy DIY. I believe that was also shot on film. It was just a really fun time. So great hanging out with Greg. Glad to finally have him on the show. And he says he'd love to come back. So let us know. You can hit us at thesubstancepod@gmail.com. Let us know what you'd like to hear in the future. As he mentioned, one of the best things you can do that we highly recommend you support is come to a Friday Night Frights at Screenland Armor. This Friday, if you're listening to the week that this airs, it's gonna be a big deal. I don't know where they are. I think they still have some tickets left, but it's gonna be the 25th anniversary screening of American Psycho. And like you said, co-writer and co-star of the film, Guinevere Turner, will be there. There's going to be a Q&A that Greg will probably run. It's going to be a great time. And then later this year, let me pull up the calendar. We've got some fun Friday Night Frights the following week. It's WrestleMania, so they're doing a big Kurt Russell celebration over the end of the summer here at Screenland. And that WrestleMania Friday Night Frights, it's going to be Death Proof, not quite a horror, but a really fun genre movie. And then on the 29th, in partnership, I guess, or in celebration of the 10th anniversary of the horror streaming service Shudder. We're going to be showing The Dark and the Wicked. I've never seen that. I don't think I'm actually going to be in town because I'll be hanging out with some of my 70 millimeter pals in Philly, but that should be a great time. And then what's the first one? Let me check. What is the first one of September? September 5th. Oh, that's another Shudder 10-year anniversary. It's going to be Revenge. So anybody who liked The Substance, I believe Revenge was her first film, her directorial debut, I believe. So that should be a great time. So come out for those. They're great. We mentioned it in the show when we talked about Deep Red. That was really fun. And shout out to Brandon, was going to mention you when that came up. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. Come if you're in town or around. Those Friday night frights are just such a good time. I also wanted to shout out some of my friends, international friends, who have an Edgar Wright podcast that recently they just put out a new episode on his series Spaced. That's my buddies Ismail and Micah over at The Right Stuff, and that's Wright with a W. It's a really fun show. They put episodes out whenever they want, but it's a fun show. If you like Edgar Wright and you want more podcast content on that, they have a pretty fun deal going over there. A reminder, if you are watching along on Letterboxd with us, if you're watching movies in conjunction with the shows at all, or just watching movies that we cover, you can tag them Substantive Cinema. That's Substantive Space Cinema. And we'd love to read those on the show. I saw that past and very soon planning future guest Dale_A from the Hot Shots Part 2 April Fool's episode. He recently logged The World's End at the end of last year. He says, was it a 3 or a 5? Was it an all-timer? Maybe, but my mind is somewhere else. But Nick Frost was awesome AF. Regardless, amazing movie. What a friggin' cast. And love yourselves, love others. So that's Dale. He's a great follow. Also the host of the Bat and Spider podcast. One of my genuine favorite listens every week when it comes up. I play that first thing in the morning Thursday just about every week. So shout out to you, Dale. This is a shout out heavy episode, but that's also, I feel like, in the vein of all the stuff that Greg does. So really appreciate him and just his collaborative nature and trying to shine lights on great stuff. Speaking of which, next week is our off week, and then we should be back with probably an author episode, not a film episode, but there's a chance that that author episode is a bit of a crossover film episode because I just got, if you are on really any social media platform and you like movies, you probably come across or are following Jeff Russo. He's got a new book out called Lost in the Stream: How Algorithms Redefine the Way Movies Are Made and Watched. Just got the book of that in the mail. So going to take a look at that and be recording with him soon. I believe that book hits shelves soon. So there's a decent chance that in 2 weeks, that's going to be what you have. But follow us on probably Instagram the most if you are looking for details about what's coming in the future. So if you really like the show and you want to join in with us and help support us to keep things going, keep the lights on here at HQ and the server costs and all that, you can do that on Cash App at $the Substance Pod. If you're really great about like organizing, like I know there's Patreon, Ko-fi, whatever, like if you are good at that and want to help me just decide to where to commit, how to figure out any rewards or if we have them or bonus episodes, I have thought about, like, I do love sometimes just supporting my friends. There's a number of my friends who make things that I support, but then it's also cool when you get, like, we talk about 70mm a lot, and we've had on Slim, and Dale may or may not be the producer if that's a bit, I'm not entirely sure, but it's fun whenever you get those special episodes. So we've got enough people that we're connected with. We could probably put out special Substantive Cinema episodes every now and then for supporters, and I'm fine with doing that, but I need to figure out how to do that. So if anybody is amazing with that, hit me a line, let me know. So there you have it. We won't see you next week, but we'll see you in 2 weeks. So look forward to that. And until then, I have been your host, Philip Marinello. We're thankful that you decided to spend some time with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next time on The Substance. I mean, actually, I might like just do a lot less editing. That your approach to minimal, because like it's a bit of work right now because I don't have an editor. I'm doing that myself. So
No, believe me,
just
there
didn't
are
edit the show. That could make things way easier. I hope I could still put out a high quality product, but
Well, and there are many like ams, us, ultimately's that if I was disciplined and actually went into and edited, I would take a number of them out, but I just not. So,
Well, I've never listened to the show and I'm like, man, those guys don't know how to talk too good.
well, thank you for that. That's good to know. We have fun, and that's the one thing with Jay's and I's friendship from the get go. There was an immediate, hey, you want to go into my house, my room, and do karate? And yeah, let's do it. And just and from like it's been 10 years now that we've known each other and been hanging out and doing stuff. So it's been a fun way to chronicle our friendship.